On this episode of WARBIRD Radio Presents, we sit down with a Pearl Harbor survivor and former Hellcat pilot. Stay tuned. WARBIRD Radio Presents, the Bob Batterson story starts now.
I was in the enlisted barracks on the third deck of, it was actually an administration building, but there were about 20 of us sound asleep. It was Sunday morning. And it's holiday routine, as it was for all the guys in those ships that were being bombed and strafed and torpedoed. So it was an abrupt reveille, but it's just the way the Japs were those days, that they thought that this was one way that they could start the war off in their favor. And it was something that I think that we should learn a great deal from, but so far I haven't seen it happen.
Well, we'll get into that too. You just so the guys and gals who are listening to this realize what happened after the attack. Something changed, and you decided to go fly. You saw those Japanese airplanes, and I guess something inside of you changed, and you said, "I want to get up there and fight with those guys." How did that come to be? How did you become a Hellcat pilot?
Well, no, it wasn't revenge. It was just a wonderful opportunity opened for enlisted personnel. The Navy opened up the flight training program for enlisted, so I applied immediately. And it took about a year, and I started flight training. But I certainly looked at it as an opportunity to get even with what those Japs did to us that morning. And unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to get even as I would like to have done.
What did you think of the Hellcat as an airplane?
The Hellcat was an outstanding fighter plane. It counted for more Jap aircraft than any other aircraft in the Pacific. It could take a beating. It brought back a lot of pilots who wouldn't have made it in another aircraft, such as the Corsair, which was a beautiful plane but couldn't take the punishment. So the fact that the plane accounted for more of the enemy aircraft than any other, I think indicates what kind of a plane it really was.
Now, as far as the missions that you were flying on in the Hellcat, you said you didn't get as close as you'd like to. What type of work were you doing? I know some of those guys were fire control, some of them were other escort missions. What were you involved in?
Well, I was a member of. We were assigned to Fighter Squadron 1 aboard the USS Bennington, so we were in an operational fighter aircraft squadron. And the reason that we got out there before the war ended, since we were sitting in a replacement squadron at Barber's Point, which is about 10 miles from Pearl Harbor, the attrition had been so low that there was a backlog, and guys were just doing nothing but putting in 2 or 3 flights a day, waiting to get orders to a squadron. And then suddenly our squadron of 6 aircraft, team. It was a team, not a squadron. We're given this special training in ship-to-shore bombardment. And we went through this for about a week and then immediately got orders to the Bennington. And we eventually ended up on Iwo Jima and got a destroyer out of Iwo Jima to the Bennington. And on our way to the Bennington, in this can, we were told that the invasion was going to be in October of that year, and this was July. And that's interesting. So we got aboard ship, and about 15 minutes after we board ship, our team leader was called up to see the captain, and he caught hell for passing the information.
Right.
And we didn't know that everybody on board ship didn't know about that. So he said, "You have now given this information to everyone. Everyone knows it now. And if one of them's shot down, including you, why, you'll be tortured and you'll be told. You will tell. The secret would be known to the Japs." So, but that was fact of life. We didn't know it was a secret until it happened, and then we found out that we were going to be part of the invasion when it happened. And until that time, we were going. My first combat hop was bombarding the USS Massachusetts, one of the new battle wagons. Was a part of a bombardment force that was going to take out a steel mill in Kamishi, that's northern Honshu. So my first combat hop was to stand by in case something happened to their aircraft, and which that happened. I was called in while I was circling, and was told that there's Blue 4, we need you. Our plane is down. Let me know when you're over the target. And it took a few minutes, and
to realize they were actually probably talking to you.
Yeah, well, hey, this is it. This is great, So I came down, and on the way, the first time I ever experienced in an aircraft what AA fire sounds like, and I quickly went up a little higher. But it was a very, very productive hop, because those battle wagons are deadly. And the Massachusetts was 16 miles off the coast. I never did see her.
But you saw what she was doing, though, I'm sure.
I could see it. Because when we got set up, he'd give me a smoke, let me know 2 seconds before the round hit, so I knew where they would hit, you see. In setting up initially, and then observing while they were doing the bombardment. And then after that were a couple of fighter sweeps where we'd go out after, excuse me, I'm getting dry. After we were briefed, after photo planes had taken pictures of planes that were being hidden under trees, around buildings, they were holding their aircraft for the invasion. So what we were doing is taking out as many of them as we could before the invasion occurred. So that was it. And of course, the big day was going to be in October. And then suddenly, those 2 bombs were dropped and brought it to an end. And all I can say today is thank God we had Truman.
Yeah.
And not something that we have in that job today. Because I'm sure he agonized a little bit before he made that decision to drop those bombs. but he sure saved millions of lives, both Japanese and American.
It's been argued that in doing so and not invading Japan, that more Japanese were saved than Americans. I mean, that's been
absolutely. They were dedicated from children on up to defend their homeland tenaciously, fiercely. There's no doubt that many more Japanese were saved than American life. And we were going to be on our own in that invasion. We were not going to have other nations back us up. It was a hard decision once it was made, and we were going to have to take it 100%.
Where were you the day that the bombs were dropped? Do you remember that?
Oh, I was aboard ship. I wasn't flying. It was really good news.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure there was probably some...
But nothing being in the air.
Right.
But one... the first one, we had a fighter. The guys were out on a sweep, and I was not. I was in the ready room. I remember that one. It occurred when we had a strike. And I remember the fellows who were with the skipper that fight, they said, well, when the skipper said, you guys just be alert, don't assume anything, because they may become more aggressive as a result of that. So he wasn't quite sure.
Right.
But after that second one was dropped, we felt that should do it. But we didn't have that authority. We just waited
just
for
waited
the best.
Right.
Waited for the best.
Well, we were talking before the interview started, and you said a lot of people ask you, well, what have we learned, or what did you learn in all of this? And you made the comment to me, you said nothing. And I think that there's a lot of, I've heard that before. I've heard that from numerous people, and I'll let you, if you want to go into that a little bit.
One of the things I thought about while I stood, we were at this window. We have windows in the third deck of this building where the enlisted barracks were. And all I could think of was, how in the hell could this happen? Because I'd been aboard a cruiser up until it was 7 months, almost 7 months to the day, that I was transferred from that cruiser to shore duty there at Pearl Harbor. I'd made petty officer third class, and just like a miracle, I got orders to shore duty in Hawaii. But before I left that cruiser, we had stripped ship. That meant all lifeboats had been taken off. There were no consumable stuff topside that could cause any kind of damage to personnel if a bomb or shell hit. There were no movies at night. It was darkened ship every night. We were general quarters frequently. We were ready. We were ready to fight the Japanese. And then to stand there and see that happen, I could not understand how in the world could this happen. And found out later that it happened at Pearl Harbor, even though we were convinced, the Admiral, Admiral Kimmel was convinced the Japanese would never strike us at Pearl because the water in front of those battleships was only 40 feet deep. And the Japanese torpedo doctrine is to drop torpedoes from 300 to go down 100 feet and rise then and go to the target. Well, obviously, if we only had 40 feet and they needed 100, we don't have to worry about it. That's the reason why these battleships, no torpedo nets around them. We had around 150 naval vessels in this one area in one port, which is utter stupidity unless you're absolutely convinced they could never attack, because you don't give an enemy who you know you're going to fight. We knew we were going to fight. The Lexington, which your dad and I served aboard as a volunteer, it was built specifically to fight Japanese in the Pacific, and 5 of those were under construction before the Japs hit Pearl Harbor. I mean, we knew we were going to meet with them eventually in mortal combat. So I compare the fallacious, the stupid reasoning on the part of that admiral, similar to what we're doing today, that there are people in this country, the vast majority of them have no idea what is happening internally. We are subjected to the same thing that's happening in France and in Germany and Spain and England, where there is a slow, insidious progress being made by the Muslims, and we are not doing anything that I can see to make sure that we are analyzing what they're doing, trying to determine what it is that's happening there that we can preclude from not happening here. I don't see it happening. What I see is more concern about that we don't offend them than how can we get them to cooperate with us. And I say that we have 7 million Muslims in our country. Let's say only 10% are radical. Then let's use that huge number to work with the FBI, with security, and go after those radicals. But I don't see that happening. Now, it could be that if this were done and there was no reaction, positive reaction, that it'd be a problem. Well, the sooner we know about it, the better. But I don't see anything like that happening. It's more precautionary. We've got to be careful. So, at Pearl Harbor, we assumed that one assumption. And another assumption. An hour before the attack started, one of our destroyers sank a Japanese submarine off the main entrance to Pearl Harbor, reported it to commander and fleet, commander to the duty officer at the commander-in-chief fleet, sink pack fleet, and it was delayed. The information was delayed getting to the admiral because the captain who kept asking for more verification that it was a Japanese, was aware of this 40-foot syndrome we had, you see.
They didn't imagine them modifying the torpedoes with the wooden fins at that point.
Couldn't be.
Something so simple.
If he had been unaware of this, it might have been a different result.
It's interesting to make those comparisons. You know, you're not the only one that has said that, and I've often said it would be interesting to see how the situation that we're in today would be handled by the generation and the generations that have come before us. Although the one thing, and I've said this numerous times, the one thing I will agree with the president on is I think you no longer have to look to the past for greatness. I think the men and women who we have over there right now, an all-volunteer force, are really doing a terrific job.
Yes, they are. Despite the vacillating, the talk that they hear from the politicians, more concerned about the enemy than they are the troops. And they've never backed them 100%. Never. There's been some reason why they've had to hold back this or question that.
Right. Well, after all of this was said and done, you stayed in the Navy and became an officer and retired a captain. There was a long stretch there that happened after Pearl Harbor and your days flying the Hellcat. What did you do after that? What did you do in the rest of your career in the Navy?
Oh, well, when I enlisted in the Navy, and this was still during the Depression, and I was in West Virginia. The kid went, and it was poor there. It was primarily to get into an organization where I thought I had some chance of moving forward. So I guess I was a career man to begin with.
Yeah, you had no intentions of ever getting out. Just had to survive the war, I guess.
As a matter of fact, I recall that, gee, if I can make chief in 20 years and retire, just think of that. And
no idea you'd be captain, huh?
No. I was very fortunate. I was given the opportunity to several times in education. We had a program. There was a program in the Navy, and throughout the armed forces, that any reserve officer who transferred to the regular status was entitled to 2.5 years of college to bring him up to date to the same level as academy graduate. That was what was behind the program. Well, I got this opportunity. I went to Ohio State, and I came out with a degree. I worked my rear end off, and my wife really helped me. We had 4 kids at that time. But I thought it was an opportunity, and I take full advantage of it. Of course, I got as many credits as I could for what I had taken in various courses in the Navy. I had gone to community colleges several times at night, get some hours, so all that added up. And then I came out with a bachelor's degree from Ohio State, and then later I was selected to go to the PG school, postgraduate school in Monterey, and came out with a master's in management. So I was very fortunate. But all I can give as advice to youngsters is when you have a job, give it 100%, no matter whether you like it or not. But give it 100%.
You never know where it'll lead you.
Absolutely.
Well, I can't thank you enough for sitting down this morning and sharing some of this stuff with us. It's been a real pleasure to get to hear the stories.
Okay, it's my pleasure, Matt.
That's all the time we have for this episode, but if you have a story idea or suggestion, just send us an email. Now stay tuned for more Warbird Radio.
This is Warbird Radio.
Hey folks, it's Ryan Keogh from Warbird Information Exchange. Join us every Wednesday evening here on Warbird Radio for Wick's Warbird Weekly Live, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, with a rebroadcast throughout the week. If you've been on the Wick's Internet Forum, one of the world's best for Internet Warbird discussion, now we're coming to you live and on the air. Tune in, take off to discuss the hot topics in Warbirds around the world this week, along with our guests who are working hard to keep them flying well into the future. Call in, write in, or even Skype in to add your voice to the conversation. Wix wants to hear from you. Again, that's Wick's Warbird Weekly Live, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, only here on Warbird Radio.
Hey, it's Matt from Warbird Radio Live, here to tell you that the new subscribers section on Warbird Radio is absolutely free. That's right, I said it. It's free. Everything is free. The podcast, the image galleries, it's all there, including the special offers, and it's all free. All you have to do is go to the website, warbirdradio.com, log in, and that's it. It's free. Username and password. We might send you an email or two here and there, but it's something you'll want to get. And the best part is, it's all free. What are you waiting on? Sign up today. Warbird Radio Live, the new subscriber section, 100% free.
Hi, this is Mike Chilson of the RC Scale Builder Show. If you're interested in radio control scale modeling, you should check us out at rcscalebuilder.com. It's a great community that offers build threads, tips and tricks, aircraft walkarounds, free plans, and much more. You can find us at www.rcscalebuilder.com. Hope to see you there.
The RC Scale Builder Show broadcast weekly, right here on Warbird Radio.
This is Don Kennedy, host of Big Band Jump, a part of Warbird Radio. Tune in, take off with the excitement of Warbird Radio.
You're strapped in to Warbird Radio. Tune in, take off.